The story of Lion, the movie. Seeing the story played out of a little boy who was lost, I went to this movie actually twice. I think I cried through most of it. It was called Lion. I have to say it was the best acting I've ever seen of Nicole Kidman, whether that is maturing and living life experiences, maybe. She plays Mrs. Briley, the adoptive mother who Kidman plays, knew she had a destiny to adopt the actual mother, even though she could have had children she chose to adopt, which the actress herself has also adopted children. It must have been hard for you to have not to have your own children, the grown-up Saru says to his adoptive Australian mother. Hard, she says. It's nothing to do with hard. I wanted to adopt. I could have had my own children, but I wanted you. I had a vision when my life was low. My alcoholic father when I was standing out one night, I wanted the ground to swallow me up, but I saw a vision of a little brown boy. Like a thunderbolt, I knew I would be looking after him one day. It was you. I guess you could say that was her calling. How typical of this generation to not realize love motivates people to do things, not selfishness, not taking the easy street. It is love and purpose that entwines together as a strong force that can overcome all odds. Who can stop love? Nothing and no one, not even strong waters, can put out the flame. Waterfalls, even Niagara Falls itself cannot destroy love. Love sets itself up as a seal over your heart. Those are even the words of the Song of Solomon. Only selfishness and ignoring lets it die. When we don't allow love into our lives to care for others, when you replace that love with love for money and things, in effect dissolving it away, especially in this capitalist society. Love stops developing in your heart and soul when we do not care or bother to reach out. And yet when we do care and bother to reach out, something happens. When Saru grows up, he is haunted by the past. To find himself is something all he wants to do. Find his past, find his history. Some do not have the love and dedication of a real mother behind them. He was fortunate. His birth mother believed he would come back and went to the temple every day. Mother's love does not die. But in the West, it is not valued quite the same, I would say, as in India. The way his birth mother loved Saru, or Shuru, his actual name, and suffered hardship in the poverty they lived in, is the struggle of many mothers. Because they love their children so much, mothers who want the best for their children, who suffer themselves and sacrifice for their children, benefit. These children benefit from such mothers, whether rich or poor. In the West, they meet their children's needs with materialism, and it goes too far. Though I would say the way things are going right now, even materialism can't help people while this virus thing is going on around the world right now. And there is emptiness. Children lose their way, and parents also are at a loss with their parenting, missing the point. Yes, they do need things to live. Children need food, shelter, water, and these physical needs have to be met. But they also need love, and they need to learn to care about others, not just self, which sets them up to fall on hard times that will come to everyone, eventually, whether sooner or later. And I would say a hard time is hitting Australia right now, and even our children, and parents have to build up their children and support them and protect them, and they can't just go to work and forget about it. This sickness thing, that disease that's spreading across the country, which I must say the media is making far too much of. They put big psychedelic pictures of the virus on the TV screens, and they're screaming out about how many people are dying. What that is doing to children's minds is boggling. No wonder kids have anxiety. This is going to be through the roof. So the media is really taking too much of this, making too much of this, and frightening the wits out of people. And the Prime Minister is not really helping with his confusing narratives. One way he says people are dying, you better keep self-distance, self-isolate and keep distant. On the other hand, he's, all the children should go to school. The little kids too, they can all go to daycare. It doesn't matter. Children don't catch things. I have it from our medical expert. And his medical expert gets up and says, children don't catch things. They don't catch viruses. There's no data to show. And I thought, what do you mean data? People are dying all over the world, and people are catching the virus. And children, I've seen, there were 7 and 12-year-olds falling over in Iran and places like China. And he says there's no data to show that children catch it. Well, children catch everything. They catch colds. They go to daycare. They catch viruses. I really do not understand why we're getting two different narratives from the same people in that government, unless they know something we don't know about that virus and they're not letting on. So it just goes to show people can be hiding things and have their own agendas, of course, but this government is not being truly honest, I don't believe. Carrying on with the story about this little boy who was lost in India, and he spent 5 nights on a train, and then he becomes an orphan, and then he gets sent to Australia and adopted out, and Nicole Kidman plays his mother. And continuing the story, considering this is a fact of the wealth of the developed nations come to a point of consuming everything in their path. Not only things, food and jobs, but developing nations are consumed by the developed nations. Well, the third world countries are being consumed by the developed countries who take their luxury cruises, dare I say cruises, because everyone's getting infected on cruises, which is ironic. Almost seems engineered, because we know lots of old people go on cruises, and why are old people all getting sick? So, well, the cruises are being tainted with this virus in the world right now in 2020. But developing nations are consumed by the developed nations. In other words, our rich countries go and, take all they can from Thailand and anywhere else they can go, and they take all their riches and luxuries and they use those countries for their entertainment and, trying to relax because they do high-stress jobs. So, promising progress and better things for the poor, it goes once again to the rich of the select few in a country. Often the leaders of a poorer country who let corporate activities into their lands for the money goes to them, and it brings it to the governments only. It doesn't really get to the people. So much for globalization. Developed nations exploit the poorer nations, pretending to help them. Well, they might help a few at the top. They say China has lifted many out of poverty. The thing with capitalism is that it is selfish. It consumes itself and its own people for what it wants. More business and more money, more oil, more land, more people to be slaves, and starts to devalue humans. And as for China, some of the research I've done on how they boast about that they've lifted people out of poverty, it's only because they allowed people to have their own businesses and changed from communism, like they altered their communism to make it almost capitalism, that the people were able to come out of that and have their own businesses and make money. It is not balanced with care for human beings, this capitalist greed thing. It devalues humans by making money and business a priority. And we bring our children up the same, so they become materialistic. And then they can't stand when a crisis comes along because they haven't learnt that deeper things are needed in their life, deeper resilience and a strong bond with their parents to help them through and to be resilient. We see developed nations take advantage of the poor countries with human trafficking and sex trade. Capitalism at its lowest, when humans are used for what the greedy can get, for shame. Little Saru, the boy in this movie who got lost and then was adopted by an Australian, as one of the lost children in India, was nearly captured and exploited by the dark forces of evil people who take children and traffic them. Thank God he did get away. I related to his adoptive mother also in her love for him. Like I love my own children, who even as natural children can hurt you sometimes, and it hurts so deep. I understand how she felt, as if you feel you did all this loving for nothing when he's gone off trying to find his real mother. And they do not always return the same amount. Maybe they do, but not always. I don't think they can, because the love of a mother is so deep and strong. And since I was adopted myself, I understand my mother's desire for a baby, my mother that adopted me. She couldn't have children, and so she really wanted a child to love. It's funny because I told a friend, my mother adopted me, and she said, oh, they must be good people. And I said, no, she didn't do it to be good to me. She did it because she wanted a baby. I was her gift. It's a strong drive and a choice. My mother battled through a hard marriage to get her babies. The adoptive mother in the story loved him so much that he could not comprehend it. Mother's love is so deeper than normal love. Mothers would die for their children because of the bond. Good mothers, that is. Of course, if a mother never bothers to bond or spend time and get to know her child, she has less of a bond, and she is not fully going to get the full satisfaction that you can have when you actually do bond with your child and you do spend time with them, and you can get a real fulfillment in your life. And the bond between parents and children is being eaten away by the forces of greed and consumerism, also valuing relationships. Or substance abuse by parents prevents them caring for their kids, and they become selfish as